Yeah.
Well, I've always enjoyed helping people, and I actually was originally trained as a drug and alcohol treatment counselor in the 1980s.
Ah.
And I picked drug and alcohol counseling simply because I thought that this would be one of the most difficult populations. Because when I thought about this population, I thought about if I could work with someone who had lost their family because of their use, or had lost their home and their job, and oftentimes their freedom, because most of my clients oftentimes have probation or parole kind of issues, and could still look me in the eye and say, nope, don't have a problem, that if I could help someone like that, then I could help anybody. And I've always been the type of person that believes that I want to learn how to be good in the hardest of situations so that the other people would be pretty simple and straightforward for me. So that was my thinking behind going into drug and alcohol counseling.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you chose really something that you thought was very challenging and wanted to learn from that. So that was your inspiration to do it.
It really was, because I like to be really good at anything I do. That's sort of the perfectionistic part of me that I want to feel confident in my skills. I want to know that I'm making a difference. And I just thought if I could learn to work with some of the most challenging people, then I would really feel confident in my skills.
Okay. So was it? Um, did your expectations come true? Did you find it really challenging when you started this line of work?
The interesting thing is it turned out that it wasn't the clients so much that were challenging, but I had more of a struggle with the professionals.
Okay.
Because in the 80s, there was this belief system around addiction that you could never really believe or trust your client. And in fact, there was a saying of how do you know if your clients are lying? And the answer to that was this joke of, well, their lips are moving. And I always found that so disrespectful and so unsettling. And I didn't like that at all. But when I would talk with my professors or talk with the people in the work setting that were supervising me, and I would say, this feels really uncomfortable. How do I know that the person is lying? What if they were telling me the truth? And they would always shake their head and say to me, oh, don't worry, you'll get it. And I didn't think I really wanted to get it. It sounded a lot like burnout to me. And it sounded as though that there was so much just that the professional was right and the clients were wrong. And I was very uncomfortable with that line of thinking. And yet I had spent a lot of time and energy on my education, and I wasn't so sure I wanted to quit, but I knew I really wasn't very comfortable. Because, another thing I was taught was when we did an evaluation, I was taught if someone said that they had had one beer, I was to always multiply it by 3. And again, assume that people were going to be minimizing and lying to me. And don't get me wrong, I think a lot of clients do lie. I've lied myself personally about things. I think lying is a very good defense mechanism to protect us when somebody is getting too close or it's just none of their business. And as a drug and alcohol counselor, we ask a lot of personal stuff that if a stranger asked me, I don't know how honest I would be either about some of these things. And our clients would lose custody of their children for their drug and alcohol use or end up going back to prison because of some of their behaviors. It made sense to me that they wouldn't be truthful to a stranger right at the get-go. But I really struggled and felt very isolated, feeling though
Yes,
I couldn't talk to professionals.
okay, so were you all alone then in this situation where you were not so comfortable with your supervisors, and or did you have anyone that you could talk to and who sort of understood you, or?
No, I felt very much alone. In those days, people went into addiction counseling because they were recovering themselves. It was a very self-disclosure based kind of model. And so if I did try to talk to somebody, they were quick to say, no, I needed people to be really hard on me and to confront me and to break through denial and all of that. And I really didn't feel like I had anybody to talk with. My answer to my dilemma was to go on and get my master's degree, thinking that surely all the answers must be in the master's degree. And just because I had a bachelor's degree, that must be why I didn't fit in. But, as many people know, the answers are not in the master's degree. That there was just a lot more questions at that point. As my confidence grew, I felt pretty confident with the clients, but I didn't always take the stance that they were lying. My stance was maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. I'm a horrible lie detector. So I just stopped caring if they were lying or not. And I just kept working with them, thinking that because they were truly remarkable people. And I learned so much from them that I never could have learned by, just always assuming that they were lying.
Okay. How come you were at this stage in your career and so much in the beginning of your working life as a addiction specialist and so on? How come you were so quick to pick up and think critical in this way and stick with it, even in this surroundings or context that this was not very appreciated? How come you stuck to it, do you think?
I hate assumptions. I think, when I look back through my entire life and my childhood, anytime there was hurt or pain, it was always because somebody was assuming something about another person. And people rarely assume the good things. And I just have always hated assumptions. And even though it's impossible to get rid of them altogether, but the drug and alcohol treatment field in the 80s definitely put those assumptions right back in my face. And I wasn't sure what to do with it, because I was really young as a professional, going during that time. And so there was a lot of just growing up personally that I had to do as well, and really sorting out what role do assumptions play in just interactions, whether it's professional relationships or with coworkers or with friendships. But it became very clear to me that assumptions were all around us. And it was definitely a learning point for me to figure out what role I want to play with all of that and how I wanted to handle it.
Yes. Was it any point where you thought, maybe I should just try being a confrontative therapist and try your supervisor's way of doing things? And how did it go if you tried it?
It did not go well. I definitely tried it. This was, a new profession for me, and so I definitely felt obligated to try it. And I would try sort of the tough person stance and the confrontational kind of stance. But, I have always looked a lot younger than I actually am, which in the beginning part of my career was not very helpful. So I was already a pretty young professional, and I would always joke that I probably looked about 12. So here I was trying to be tough with people in prison. And, it was very clear just looking at me that I didn't come out of prison, and I was not this tough guy kind of image. And so when I would try to confront people, it didn't fit who I was. It didn't fit my style. I always joked with friends and family that, my clients really could just swing me around by the hair and flop me back into my chair and tell me to just knock it off. And I was very aware of that. And so I didn't try it very long. It was not going to be an effective way of working with my clients.